Welcome into my cozy corner here in my home. I am revisiting Finding My Bones, a book I wrote capturing all the lessons I have learned over the years and my understanding of metamorphosis. If anything sparks an idea or a question, please leave them in the comments, like and subscribe, and let's continue this conversation. I really appreciate your comments. I read all of them. And today we are reading chapter 12. One night after the attack, I was happily working when 5 men walked in and I immediately felt the negative energy surrounding them. While I served them, they became very drunk, their comments and demands toward me growing harsher as the evening progressed. And then I made a regretful mistake. I added a gratuity to the bill, which is standard with a table of 6 or more, and it was a costly misstep. The men became furious, calling me out like I had tried to rob them. I went to correct my error, but just as I did, the owner walked in. The men lashed out violently, their voices sharp with accusation, painting me as a thief. I was fired on the spot, humiliated in front of everyone. And then I was asked to leave the restaurant. It was 11 p.m. at the end of October, the cold biting into me as I stepped outside, numb and in shock. I wandered through the streets, astonished at what had happened. The weight of injustice pressed into my chest, and as I sat down on the curb, uncontrollable sobs blinded my vision for a brief moment. Then a whisper soft as an eerie breeze traced the back of my neck. This will pass. Breathe. The voice was neither outside nor inside me, but somewhere in between. I exhaled, shaky but deliberate, repeating to myself, everything will be okay. As I wiped my tears, movement caught my eye. Across the street, a figure in rags swept around a building, an almost ghostly presence in the dim light. I looked down, and beside me was a smooth, shiny bone the size of my fist. A gift. A sign. I wasn't sure, but I smiled and nodded as if acknowledging something ancient and unseen. Yet beneath it all, the hurt and humiliation burned my skin, crawling with rawness. Nature has always been where I find my healing. Facing a waterfall, disappearing into a cave, feeling the solid presence of the earth. I cocooned myself there, allowing time and solitude to mend me. Love remains my light, revealing the steady undercurrent of gratitude even in loss. Poetry, the language of my heart, steers me forward. Here's a poem. Days golden, changing, leaving my mouth gaping, speeding ahead around the next corner, clarity could exist. Feeling lost in the idea of tomorrow, who will I become? Lost in the ether, to be found in the matter, paths unfolding. Ooh-wee. I was such a young 18-year-old. And sure enough, everything does pass. My grandmother said it. Good or bad, nothing lasts forever. Let's continue chapter 13. I woke up one morning feeling peaceful. The heavy weight that had rested on me for 9 months had lifted. The year following my roaming time became an incredible journey back to myself. When I returned to South Africa after my travels, all I found were the robes I had left behind. Stepping into the character that culture and society required of me felt excruciatingly heavy, making it hard to breathe. Long, looming hallways swallowed me whole, and the panic attacks came too often. After a year of freedom, the perceived expectations and shackles of culture and society felt suffocating. But then I realized I was making choices for myself. I decided what to wear and where to go. I was designing the map, creating and shaping my own story. Slowly, I allowed myself the freedom to change my mind, to seek a more joyful, fulfilling path. I woke up to my life. I smiled at myself in the mirror and made a clear decision about the direction I wanted to take. I was changing. Metaphorically speaking, I decided to change my entire act, the song, the stage, and the wardrobe of my current story. At the time, I had been studying for a demanding Bachelor of Science program, constructed by conditioning and expectation. I couldn't breathe. I ran into walls, drank too much, and followed my shadow side around, unable to recognize the light or the possibilities that were trying to get my attention. One of my jobs was at a production house, where I served editors snacks and drinks, answered phones, and did bits of research for storytellers. The producers of a new show for our national broadcaster were writing and auditioning on the premises. I served them for weeks, watching the process unfold like an outsider looking in. Then one late afternoon, the producer, Donnie Woodendahl, held me back and almost demanded that I audition for them. I stood in awe of this utterly unknown process I had been witnessing from the periphery. Though unschooled in acting, I found myself guided by kind and generous people. The following week, I was learning monologues in the living room of Annie Basson, the founder and executive producer of Seven de Laan. She had taken me in the way one would rescue a bird that had fallen from its nest. Each monologue transported me to a different time and space. Those intense moments in Annie's living room transformed into something magical, shaping me in ways I couldn't yet fully understand. I entered the world of pretend play, capturing stories on tape for others to replay in their homes. I felt both at home and lost in a single breath. Annie and Donnie saw something in me when I was simply serving them. They wrote a character to create space for my learning, to let me warm up to the idea of acting. And meanwhile, I continued my studies, managed 3 jobs, and poured my heart into love, valiantly skipping through the night. I was overwhelmed by this new venture my life was taking, caught in the pull of my ego, astounded by the idea of giving something up. Relief and grief came hand in hand. My decisions and choices were supported and even celebrated. I was the only one holding myself prisoner, tangled in confusion over the unfolding path. One morning, I was driving home in the early hours, an overwhelming need for solitude rising in me. As a server, a student, a daughter, a lover, and a friend, I was constantly surrounded by people. I craved space. Sober and exhausted, I raced home at 4 in the morning, yearning for stillness. Yes, huge capacity and coping skills doesn't mean we shouldn't find moments of stillness in order to really understand where we are and what we need in order to be fully aligned and in our authenticity. I learned this lesson in a very specific way. Come back for chapter 14, where I will share that moment. For being here. Let me know what you thought and what you're thinking and what your questions are. Much love.